Hello everyone, this is Ren from MGF 2351 International Business, studied with Ms. Rochelle Ali. Through this video, my task being an Australian National Department of Young Scholarly Researcher aimed at analyzing as well as providing an appropriate country, which is China, in terms to Australian firms as a reference for the international expansion. China, known as the People's Republic of China, is one of the world's biggest developing country, with a population of approximately 1.4 billion and a GDP of $40.45 trillion, which is ranked at the second in 2019. China has also been gradually opening up and developing international trade over the past 3 decades. With a brief look before we get into the text, the outline of this video is to measure the degree of the economic and human development in China as a transition economy before determining the one of economy is of a greater significance to Australian firms considering establishing a presence in China. In addition, this video also helps review the reason China should specialize in labor-intensive industry with comparative advantages, as well as suggest it to develop its own absolute advantage on the scientific and technological development and industrial base in order to complete the transformation from a manufacturing power to a scientific and technological power. To measure China's economic development, we generally measure the gross national income per capita and the purchasing power parity. GNI per capita is the gross national income converted to US dollars using the World Bank Atlas method. Divided by the mid-year population, GNI is a sum of value added by all resident producers plus any product taxes not included in the valuation of output plus net recipes of primary income from abroad. National Bureau of Statistics of China conducted in 2020 that since the beginning of this century, China's economy has maintained rapid growth. In 2019, China's GDP reached nearly 100 trillion yuan, making it the world's second largest economy. In 2019, China's per capita GNI further rose to $10,410, breaking the $10,000 mark for the first time, higher than the average level of upper middle-income countries of $9,074. The world ranking has improved significantly. In 2000, China ranked only 141st out of 207 countries and regions that the World Bank released GNI data per capita. In 2019, China rose to 71st out of 192 countries and regions that released data, up 17 places from 2000. On the other hand, the GDP per capita PPP is obtained by dividing the country's gross domestic product, adjusted by purchasing power parity, by the total population, through estimating from. Nonetheless, it cannot be ignored that China is facing an economic transition, shifting towards greater democracy and economic liberalization as a transition economy. Enterprises in China are mainly segmented into 4 varieties, including state-owned enterprises, the collectively owned enterprises, privately owned enterprises, and self-employment. For the last 3 decades, since rural reform began in late 1978, the poverty of the lower income class in China has been effectively resolved. Its middle income class has faced a rapid increase, whose wealth rivals that of their counterparts in developed countries has emerged. On the other hand, the results showed that since China's reform and opening up, knowledge, international, human and physical capital have grown rapidly, with speeds of growth higher than that of economic growth. It has helped China adopt being a transition economy, aiming at moving towards greater democracy and economic liberalization through shifting the economy from state-oriented to the non-public. As the 5 types of capital have all increased at varying paces, the savings level of total capital in China has quadrupled in 25 years and overtook that of the USA in the 1990s. Between 1990 and 1998, the state and collective sectors declined, suggesting a more rapid reform and labor resources reallocation in the 1990s. On the other hand, human development is also indicated as a criterion when evaluating a country's development process. The Human Development Index is a composite number that values between 0 and 1. The greater value of the HDI indicates a relatively better human development. Lai presented in 2003 that China classified its population into agricultural with mainly 80% of total and non-cultural. Prior to the economic reform, agricultural people are generally restricted into farming, while are forbidden from migrating to cities, resulting in high unemployment and underemployment rate. However, after the reform, this policy has been changed gradually. In the last decade, there have been large migration from the rural areas to the cities and from the inland provinces to the coastal areas. According to Yang and Hu in 2008, provinces in China can be segmented into 4 tiers based on the degree of development and openness. As shown in this table, 23 provinces, which are in the first and second tiers, contribute the most GDP, while realize Nevertheless, I would suggest that an Australian firm to enter into the Chinese market based on the measurement of its economic development, because China is basically and will remain a one-party state with relatively fewer democratization, which is an important component of pushing human development of political communities to give citizens a voice in the important decisions made for the community. In addition, based on HDI report 2018, China is only ranked at 85 with 0.758, which is low compared with Australia being ranked at 6 with 0.938. It is thus more effective for foreign business to consider economic development as a main factor when capturing the Chinese market share, since it's relatively mature and stable. That's how we measure the economic and human development in China. Now we're moving on to showcase China's foreign trade. Here is a pie chart representing the China's foreign trade situation. In 2019, China's exports of mechanical and electrical products totaled 10.06 trillion yuan, up 4.1% and accounting for 58.4% of total exports. Exports of electrical and electronic products totaled 6.1 trillion yuan, up 2.6%. Machinery and equipment totaled 1.2 trillion yuan, up 8.7%. Exports of high-quality, high-tech, and high-value-added products have grown rapidly. Exports of solar cells, semiconductor devices, integrated circuits, tool-working machine tools, and whole vehicle increased by 47.4%, 24.2%, 26.8%, 14.8%, and 8.2% respectively. Exports of 7 categories of labor-intensive products, including textiles, clothing, footwear, cases and bags, toys, furniture, and plastic products, total 3.31 trillion yuan, up 6.1%. Notable achievements have been made in building export brands, among which the export of sales-owned brands reached 2.9 trillion yuan, up by 12%, accounting for nearly 17% of the total export volume and 1.1 percentage points higher than that of the previous year. Meanwhile, it's worth mentioning that with the development of China's economy, more and more factors have begun to affect the comparative advantage of China's labor-intensive products and the absolute advantage of cheaper labor, which are mainly reflected in the following 3 aspects. The international competition between low and labor-intensive products similar to China intensifies, and the advantage of China's products is weakening. Second, China has entered a phase of rapid rise in labor costs. Third, the added value of China's labor-intensive products is very low, which is not conducive to China's economic development. As China's advantage in labor-intensive products weakens, a large number of workers may be eliminated in the future. Therefore, without changing this development status quo, China's development can only move forward with difficulty. The good news is that China continues to enjoy the demographic dividend by increasing education to turn its manpower into talent. Secondly, high-tech industries should be developed to gradually develop the products from the low end to the middle and high end, so as to give full play to the comparative advantage brought by the middle and high end products, and even turn them into absolute advantages for other countries in the future. Hao and Zhao also pointed out that from 1999, the category of Chinese exports to the world underwent qualitative change, characterized as a declining share of low technology products, an ascending share of high technology products, and slight rise in share of middle technology products. Therefore, China is recommended to maintain its comparative advantages while vigorously develop and specialize in the scientific and technological development and industrial base in order to create its specific absolute advantages. Alas is a reference list.